The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. The webinar will be starting shortly. We'll be beginning the webinar in just about 5 minutes. Did I even stutter then? I always stutter. Can you see my screen? Before we begin, we just want to leave this screen up for 1 second in case there's some participants who may be having audio issues. So I just want to leave this slide up for just 1 second so we can begin troubleshooting any audio issues there may be. So good afternoon. So welcome to the Full Steam Ahead webinar. We're really excited that you're taking time out of your day to join us. I know that I'm excited to have Kim Brooks from Gaston County with us. Every time I'm with her, I learn something new. So I feel like this will be a great use of your time and that you'll walk away with a lot of new information. So just again, really excited to have Kim Brooks with us today. So I'm Erica Beatty. I'm the K-3 education consultant for the Southwest region. my colleague Donna Alba is definitely with us today, and she's helping us in the question box, so she'll be answering any questions you may have. And of course, our guest presenter is Kim Brooks, who is from Hawks Nest STEAM Academy in Gaston County Schools, and she brings a wealth of knowledge to us. She is a kindergarten teacher, but she's also been a pre-K teacher. She was also a lead curriculum facilitator for Gaston County Schools, and she's also been an instructor for UNC Charlotte in the Special Education and Child Development Department. So she comes to us with lots of background and knowledge, so we're really excited to have her with us today. So I'm going to turn the webinar over to her so she has the information that's most important. But while I give her the screen, I just wanted to let you know that her principal and her assistant were kind enough to work with her to allow her to dismiss her children. Her school does not dismiss until 3:30, but they worked with her for her to be live with us. So she is live from her classroom, so don't be surprised if you hear a school bell or some sweet little children voices in the background. So if so, just know that she is presenting live from her classroom. So Kim, welcome, and I'm going to give the webinar to you.
All right, thank you, Erica. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to be here with you today. And as Erica was saying, I am a kindergarten teacher at Hawks Nest STEAM Academy in Gaston County Schools, but I have to just let you know this is only my second year teaching in a STEAM-based school. All of my other teaching experience was in a regular education setting. So I'm definitely still learning more about STEAM and project-based learning and problem-based learning. And to be completely honest with you, when the opportunity presented itself for me to come to the STEAM Academy, I really came here because one of my strongest passions is reading and Lucy Calkins, and this school is going to have the new units of study and kind of be one of the few schools in the district to really get those new materials to try them out. So that was really my motivation for coming to the STEAM Academy. The whole idea of problem-based and project-based learning was not at the forefront when I came here, but it's certainly being here and learning more about problem-based learning, project-based learning, and seeing what my students can do has really opened my eyes, because I was one of those kindergarten teachers before I don't have time to do technology in my classroom. You know, I'm trying to fit everything else in that I have to do throughout the day. A project, I don't have time for that. You know, I've got to do my ELA block, my math block. I've got to get all these other things into my day. So I was really more open. I got to be more open-minded when I started this experience last year. This is only my second year doing this. And one of the things that I can tell you is it has really made me more open-minded and just really changed my view in thinking about how we can approach education with young children. Children can use technology. Children can engage themselves in these problem and project-based learning experiences. It also doesn't take, sorry, we have an announcement. There's a leak in the gym, sorry about that. So it's really opened my mind to what kindergartners really can do and how much I really can fit this into my day. In our district, just to let you all know, we are not a play-based, center-based kindergarten classrooms across our district. So that's not something that's part of our setting. We do build in a lot of choice through our reading and writing workshop and our science block and our math block and things like that, but we don't have specific centers that students go to. And so the STEAM-based projects have really allowed for me to provide a lot of hands-on experiences, really using everyday materials that I have in my classroom. We're a new school. We don't really, you think new school, you have a lot of things. We don't really have that much more than anybody else. So I'm doing a lot with the same things that other teachers in my district have in their classrooms. I'm hoping today, as we talk about different STEAM-related activities, project and problem-based activities, how we use engineering design, how you'll see how much of what we're doing you can also use to collect formative assessment data pieces for the kindergarten entry assessment, for the KEA assessment. I don't have to go out and do anything different to be able to provide evidences for the KEA. It's already embedded in what I'm already doing in my classroom. I'm not recreating anything. I'm just using what I already do in my classroom to help find those pieces of evidence, to help me see where my kids are on the progressions related to the constructs, and then help me to plan for what their next steps are. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started and just kind of jump right in. One of the things that I do is a little exploration time, and really here at the beginning, we have been using just simply from our math program. We have snap cubes, and I happen to have some Legos that I got from parent donations and from taking from my boys and bringing them into school as well. So we really just do a little exploration time as the students are coming in the morning. So rather than, I'm thinking at my other school, maybe rather than doing morning work or any kind of seat work, let the kids come in and just have an open time for exploration with cubes and Legos. You would be surprised at how much information you can collect related to the children's development through this exploration time. And I put some pictures here, and I'm just going to kind of start out with what you're seeing here in the pictures. I started out with, we read Iggy Peck Architect. Here he designs and then builds something. And so I tried to, work with the students and get them to think about different things to build. Sometimes they're not really sure what they want to build. So we started out with photographs of actual objects. And then they could think, how could I rebuild this actual candy cane, if you will? As you can see Brooks here with her candy cane. How can I recreate that with the cubes? Or how can I recreate that picture of a table, which you're going to learn about in a minute here, or the Eiffel Tower, which is right here. This is B's Eiffel Tower, and this is Jade. I'm going to talk with her a minute, and you're going to see a little video. She's going to tell you what she's building. But I just gave them pictures of real objects. And so they were building different materials. We have candy corn here. You can see, and I can look at patterns as well. And over here, we have the blue icicles. And they're all blue because that was the color that the child saw when they were looking at the icicles. And I'm going to play Jade's little video here. Not me, it's Jade. She's going to tell you about her table. Okay, so you can see that Jade was actually using a program called Seesaw that we use in our classroom. And I wasn't actually with Jade when she was doing this. This is something she recorded on Seesaw, and I was able to go back and look at it later. And Seesaw is a free application that students can use in your classroom or at home to post their information, whether, it could be anything. She was taking pictures of her Legos, and she was recording what her construction was, and you can see she was making a kitchen. Now looking at that, we may not know it's a kitchen, and even walking by her in the classroom as she's building, unless I go over there, I may not know it's a kitchen, but having this recording really helped me be able to go back and see and learn more about what she was talking about. So I thought that was very creative as to, she saw a picture of a kitchen, and that's what her interpretation of it was with the Legos. So then I could go back and help support with questions like, how did you know to use, why did you use the brown Legos, different things like that. Of course, during this exploration time, you can get a lot of evidence for your kindergarten entry assessment related to fine motor development. We can look at grip and manipulation. We can look to see how they're using their hands to manipulate the Legos. Are they able to stabilize with one hand and build with the other? Are they using their whole hand to push the Legos together? Are they able to grab onto the Legos and actually push them together? We can also work. Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is Erica. We have a question. Someone wanted to if you would tell the name of the book that you used again, and I just wanted to let you know also that when you played your video, it was very sputtered. Probably when there's this many people on the call, I'm not sure the videos will work. So you may, if you want to show those, you may need to walk us through there because I'm not sure that they were able to hear those. So I'm sorry to interrupt you. But they did want to know the name of the book that you mentioned.
Iggy Peck Architect?
Okay. Yes, that's what they wanted. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, Iggy Peck Architect. And there's actually a little series, and I'll talk about some more of those books as we go through the presentation. So the video was right down here of Jade's kitchen. She built a kitchen, and this was the stove. The blue part was the table. These were the chairs all around, and the gray part was her floor. And so, like I said, if I wouldn't have had that recording, I may not have really known what Jade may have been doing that day if I was over working with somebody else. But she was able to use an iPad and use the Seesaw app to record that. And that is something that I use a lot in the classroom. I only have 5 iPads. I don't have a lot of iPads. But really, you could do this with one iPad. one phone, whatever, bring your own device, whatever technology you may have. You can actually record with Chromebooks if you have a Chromebook as well. So I only have 5, but this is definitely something that you can do with a Kindle. You can do it with a phone. You can do it with any device, really. And that's the Seesaw app, and it's free. You can also just let your kids take regular videos as well. And up here, this was Brooke's snowflake that she built with the snap cubes. So I thought it was really interesting that this is what you're seeing here are most of my girls and what they're doing. And when you look at my boys, I'm just going to show you real quick. My boys were not so much wanting to use any photographs. They just wanted to build whatever they wanted to build. So we have a lightning bolt here. This is an elevator. This was Killian's sea diver, where it goes under the sea. And he did a little voice recording on Seesaw with this one. And it won't let me put that on here to show it to you through the webinar. But when I listened to his voice recording, he was telling me that it goes down in the sea and picks up junk. And that's what he actually said on his recording about what that was. And I thought this was interesting. Liam did a skeleton. This is his skeleton. And it was interesting to me that he didn't put the Legos really together in a true fashion of stacking and snapping the Legos together. He actually laid them out. And I thought that was really interesting. You can see the notebook here, and even on the other slide, I think there's you can't see the notebook here, but a lot of times the kids have notebooks out where they're sketching their design first, and then they're building their design. And engagement is really high in this activity, but also I'm looking to see, when I'm looking at engagement and self-selected activities related to the KEA, are they able to select a material that they want to build with because they have choice? Are they able to stay with it? How long are they engaged in it? Are they only building one thing during this time? Are they building 2 things during this time? If they get distracted or if there's interruptions, are they able to get back on task with what they were doing? And those are important skills for learning, as we know, and that engagement in self-selected activities is definitely a part of the kindergarten entry assessment. So that's another way that you could collect evidence just by having some exploration time. Also looking for problem solving. I'm actually going to opt into all of the KEA constructs. I just did that last night. Because I really feel like some of the other constructs that are more of the K3 constructs are going to lend themselves well to what we're doing in my classroom, and is going to help support me in helping kids move along construct progressions related to problem solving. There's also other constructs related to writing. There's also constructs related to emotional regulation and perseverance in assigned activities, gross motor, school-related vocabulary, and reading comprehension, just for those of you who may not know. And I really feel like problem solving here is definitely being assessed when I'm looking at this exploratory time and looking at how my kids are manipulating with the Legos. Are they able to build an object from the photographs? Do they want to come up with something on their own? Do they not know what to do with the Legos? They're not really sure how to get started. What do they do if they don't know how to get started? Are they looking for a peer to help them? Are they asking a teacher to help them? Or are they able to work independently? One of the big aha moments that I had when I was doing this presentation and putting it together is that I did this for a reason. These are my girls who really used the photographs. We had the snowflake, the Eiffel Tower, the icicles, the kitchen, the candy corn, and the candy cane. Those were all items that were on the photographs that I showed them. And my boys didn't use anything from the photographs. They were building their own constructions. They had their own ideas of what they wanted to build. So it's really said to me too that, I may need to change this up a little bit. The photographs were nice to get them started with this exploration time if they weren't sure how to think of an idea, design it, and then go and turn and build it. So now I think I'm going to, the cards will be there if they want them, but I'm going to start to remove those and just let them come up with their own ideas of what they want to build with and what they want to do and create. Still, we'll probably have them sketch out a design. But I'm not going to, give them the photographs. I'm going to try and keep it more open-ended so that maybe my girls, just to see what they would do if they didn't have the photographs, what would that look like for them?
Hey, Kim,
yeah.
Kim, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's Donna. There's a question that's been in here for a bit, and I don't want to move past Seesaw without answering it. And the question from the audience is, can videos that you record and enter in Seesaw, can those be transferred from Seesaw to KEA is the question, I believe.
Yes, they can. Any video that is in Seesaw, you can download to your device, whether that's your computer, your iPad, whatever device you're using, you download it, it's on your camera roll, and then you would just upload it into a KEA platform from your camera roll. So yes.
Thank you, Kim.
That's a great question. Want to jump back a little bit to just making sure I've discussed all the different developmental constructs that you can look at with the exploration time. I left off with problem solving. I don't want to leave out crossing midline as well, which is a part of our required constructs with kindergarten entry assessment. Looking to see, are they placing those manipulatives across their body from left to right, from right to left? If they're sketching out those designs in their notebook, are they able to move across their paper? Do they keep the paper on one side of their body? So that's another opportunity to observe for crossing midline. Also, emotional regulation. How do kids and students work together to share those materials? We had an issue today during exploration time where somebody had left what they built in the Lego bin and somebody else got it out. And that was an issue because to them, they worked on it yesterday and it was still theirs. And to the other child, it was, no, this is mine now because I got it first. So we were able to have those conversations about sharing and working on our emotional regulation. Just want to talk about how I'm planning to expand this exploration time. I'm going to add a lot more materials now that we've been using a lot more materials in our room, like cardboard tubes, looking into having craft sticks as well as clothespins, and really trying to give them a lot of different choices for more materials that they can build and construct with: tape, glue, scissors, different kinds of paper. We kind of keep recyclables. People bring in their boxes and bring in all their plastic items for us, and we keep them out in a central location in our school so that we can go and get recyclables that we can reuse for things like this when kids are trying to recreate something. And that leads into my next slide. Cardboard is wonderful. Cardboard can be your material that parents can bring into you. Kids can do a lot of different things with cardboard. Our school participated in a cardboard challenge project school-wide, and each kindergarten classroom had to design a game out of cardboard. And this was part of a project that's bigger called Kane's Arcade. And I've referenced it and linked it in my notes, and I'll share those notes with you so you can find out more about Kane's Arcade and what that is. But basically, Kane builds games and has an arcade, and people come and play his cardboard games. So as a school, we created our own cardboard game day. So our kids, my kids, were building, and I let them come up with the ideas. I let them come up with what they wanted to, what they wanted to build. We talked about their ideas. We voted on an idea, and they chose a putt-putt course. This was my first year at a STEAM school, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm still questioning, can they do this? Because this was like in September. The day of play was in October, and I'm like, how are we going to build a putt-putt course? Can kindergartners really do this? How are we going to do this? They can't do this. What am I going to do? I kind of went into that, what are we going to do? But I just trusted in the process, and really I let the kids help drive this process, and they were able to come up with their ideas. We walked down, we looked at the cardboard, we said, what kind of cardboard are we going to need? They each got different pieces of cardboard. We came back, we talked about how we're going to use that cardboard, and you can see some of our pieces here of our putt-putt course. And you can also see the kids working on different aspects of it. So this was them making the signs to let you know what number of hole it was. This is hole number 5. So you can see them working there. Of course, we're getting lots of information here about grip and manipulation, hand dominance, how are they holding the markers. You can see this child's got 2 markers in one hand. He's using both hands at the same time. Are they just using one hand? So I was definitely I can get hand dominance information from this activity. Also, I was looking to see how were they manipulating materials like tape and scissors as we were going through the process. You can see these 2 boys down here, again, grip manipulation, hand dominance, are they using the markers? Also looking at emotional regulation, how are they working together? I can look at engagement in their activities. Were they able to stay with the project? How did they decide to get involved? What piece did they want to work with? Were they able to stick with it? Did they move around a lot to different parts of the project? And of course, crossing the midline was here as well. Are they able to take the tape, get across an object to tape something down when they're putting together the cardboard pieces? We also had, when we got to the end of the project, we had the golf clubs, and it was an actual putt-putt course, so I was able to see how did they use their golf club to play the putt-putt course as well. Definitely emotional regulation, how they're going to work together. Problem solving was huge in terms of how are we going to take these pieces of cardboard and turn them into a putt-putt course. And I want to talk about this piece right here. I'm circling it. That is from a school of ribbon, that piece. And I was thinking in my mind, I'm going to need to help them build a club. And I'm thinking the end of this would work really well for the end of a golf club. So in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, we're going to use this for a golf club. I grabbed it and brought it back for us to use. And the kids were like, I had one little girl, she's like, no, Miss Brooks, we can put it like this. And the hole, this there and the ball can go through. So she wanted to stand it up and make it more like an obstacle within a course. And so here again, I was slowly learning. They know more than I do. They can do this. I need to just step back and let her ideas go. And that's really problem solving, seeing her come up with alternative ways to use that piece of cardboard, very different from what I had in mind. So here's our putt-putt course once it was finished. You can see the different obstacles that we created and the different holes that we had and the different signs that the children created. And you can see their golf clubs here that they built as well. We cut off recyclable bottles. And again, that was their idea. We had these materials and they had to think about how they could use them to build what they needed for their putt-putt course.
So Kim, while you're changing slides, we had a question. How long does your exploration time last each day?
Anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
Just kind of depends. We use it in the morning. It's that time that really helps us when the kids are coming in, they're getting unpacked. We have to do receipt books. We have to do attendance. It really kind of helps us to get everything done that we need to get done. And the kids are able to come in and do this exploration time. And it's really, not anything that takes a lot of time. If you feel like, oh, I still don't really have a lot of time for that, like I was saying before, think about how you could maybe work that morning work that you may be doing in the morning, or maybe you have 15 minutes of like a weird transition time where you need something that it's not time to go here yet, but maybe you could get out some exploration materials for the kids to participate in.
Great, thank you, that helps.
Okay. Right, so now that I've kind of talked about exploration time, I want to talk a little bit more about using books and how we would come up with more of the storybook STEAM ideas, storybook STEAM challenges, storybook STEAM projects. And that's really when the aha moment went off for me when I started this last year. One of the activities that we were trained on was taking a book, Jack and the Beanstalk, reading that book, and then having the kids build a structure with beanstalks, and it had to hold an egg. And we gave them 10 stalks, 10 pipe cleaners, and they had to put them together and make a beanstalk, and they were able to do it. And from there, I thought, oh, books, my passion for reading, I'm seeing the engineering design process, I'm seeing this project and this problem that's being presented to the kids through a book. It really helped me to really even buy in more to how I could be successful in doing this in my classroom and how beneficial it could be students. So we kind of start the year off with Rosie Revere Engineer and it's related to that Iggy Pig Architect. It's in that same series. So we read Rosie Revere Engineer, and it's about Rosie who's trying to design, and she wants to give up, but she keeps persevering and she keeps going with her design, even if it's not working out exactly the way that she wants it to. And so I just did a very open-ended activity. And like I said, this was at the very beginning of the school year, probably mid-September. So I just put out paper straws and Play-Doh and let them design whatever they wanted to design. You know, some of them were determined to make their paper straws stand up, like Vivian and Brooke here. Alexander's like, you know what? I'm just going to put the Play-Doh in the middle, and these are going to come out. And you can see Amin here. He had a whole nother different idea of how to make his paper straws go together. The paper straws are a great material. You could add them to your exploration time with Play-Doh. They're harder than a flexible straw, so they don't bend as much. So they're just a different type of material that the kids can explore. And again, I was able to see a lot of evidences for my kindergarten entry assessment, you know, looking at the fine motor domain and looking to see, are they able to use their hands to shape and mold the Play-Doh? Are they able to stabilize the straws and use the Play-Doh at the same time? How are they manipulating the Play-Doh in the straws? How are they gripping? What does their manipulation look like? You could even look at hand dominance here as well. Emotional literacy, now that we're getting into talking more about books, a lot of times you're going to see throughout the different activities I talk about, emotional literacy can always come up and relate back to the book that you were reading. We were always talking about, well, what did Rosie do when her design didn't work out? You know, we can ask those types of questions. How do you think Rosie felt when her design didn't work out? Do you think she felt like you're feeling right now? So we can probe and ask some more of those questions and relate it back to that. And that helps the kids to demonstrate that emotional literacy piece as well. And then, of course, looking at following directions. This is more, you know, you have this many paper straws, you have Play-Doh, and you're going to build a structure. So it's still pretty open-ended, but yet there are directions where exploration time is a little bit more open-ended, not a specific activity that they have to do. Exploration time is a lot of choice. They choose what materials they want. Here with the Storybook STEAM activities, they're doing more of an assigned activity, if you will. They've got specific things or specific materials that they're going to work with. And so I'm looking to see, are they able to follow those directions? Do they need to have those directions restated? If I have, you know, they're able to do 3-step directions, or do I need to take it back and go down to a 1 or a 2-step direction for particular students? How many times do I have to tell a particular student what they're supposed to be doing, or how many times do they ask questions? And then also looking at some more of those other constructs that are optional, looking at problem solving again. You know, did they work together as a team? How did they decide how the structure was going to be built? Or if they were working independently, did they look over to another group to see what they were doing, or go ask another peer what they were doing? When they're working together, does one member of the group contribute all the ideas? Or are they working together and both of them are contributing? What did they do when something didn't work out the way they thought it was going to? And again, that leads into emotional regulation as well. Sometimes when they're working through some of these problems and these projects, they sometimes do get frustrated. So it is a really good time to be able to work on that emotional regulation.
Hi, Kim. This is Erica. I just want to acknowledge that it's right at 4 o'clock, but I know that you are presenting such fabulous information and we're getting great comments. So I know that you're happy to stay on if others want to keep going, but I did want to acknowledge that our time was 3:30 to 4, but maybe if some people could just type in the question box they'd like to stay on, or if you'd rather us do a part 2 to this series, we could offer this in another month. So maybe if people would just put that in the question box real quickly, then we could kind of formatively assess whether we should keep going or whether we should schedule a part 2 for this. So let's just take a minute or two to see what some people put in the question box, if that's okay, Kim.
That's fine. And I can go faster too if we need to.
Well, we don't want you to speed because I know you have great information. Let's just see what they say. We'll just take a minute. So Kim, it looks like we kind of have it split. Like some people say keep going and some people say part 2. So I don't want the people who've only committed to 4 o'clock not be able to hear the rest of your webinar. So can we agree, you and I will talk after the webinar and come up with a date and do a part 2 so you can finish and not have to speed through anything, and we can find a date so everyone can participate and hear the great information that you have to present today. Would that be okay with you?
Yes, that is just fine with me.
Okay, so we will take, I know it's 4:01, but if you have some last minute questions, and just know that we are going to schedule a part 2. We'll try to do that in the next couple of weeks, since we saw that there was people wanted to stay on today and wanted a part 2. We want to offer that and meet your needs. So if there's any last minute questions, put those in the question box and we'll try to answer those live with Kim, and otherwise we'll just do a last few wrap-up slides. And Kim, I'll just take the screen back from you if that's okay.
Yes.
So Donna, do you see any questions that need to be addressed before we wrap up?
Just, Kim, lots of kudos and gratitude from the folks who are on, and there are some folks that love to see you do this once a month, so keep that in mind. No questions really, Erica, but just lots of kudos and thanks.
Yeah, every time I'm around Kim, I learn tons and want to hurry back to a classroom and try all the things that she says. And so her classroom is always full of energy. So we're really lucky to have her in Gaston County Schools and in our region. So again, thank you, Kim. And if you have some questions after you log off today, I wanted to put your consultant's contact information on the screen for you. So I'll leave that up for just a second. And also, there's lots of great resources on the wiki. As of right now, we're not going to be able to post this webinar because we are still waiting on some permissions. But if we get those permissions back from the parents, some students, they have permission to show it today, but we're not sure we have permission to host that on a wiki space. So we're still waiting on some permission slips. If we don't get all those, we will not be able to post the webinar. But if that doesn't happen, Kim is going to, we're going to post her presentation slides up, and then she'll email you some resources too. So just want you to know that that may or may not be able to be on our wiki. And then again, just a huge thank you, Kim, for being with us today. And if you have specific questions for Kim, I wanted to provide you her email address, and she said she'd be happy to respond to any email. So I'm going to leave this up for a second to get her email address for you all. And again, she's at Hawks Nest STEAM Academy, if you forget or lose this email address. And one last thing is we would love for you to complete our evaluation. I think Donna's going to post that in the question box. You'll also receive an email about an hour after the webinar with a link to the evaluation. But we would love for you to fill that out and let us know what you liked about this webinar, if you want a part 2, what other things you'd like to see us offer that would help you implement the K-3 form of assessment in your classroom. So if you would take a minute, that would be really helpful to us so we can make sure we're meeting your needs. So again, thank you so much for your time. We know you're busy and tired at the end of the day, and we appreciate you logging on, and we will definitely schedule a part 2. And so we hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and we will send you an announcement about a part 2 to Kim's webinar. And again, Kim, thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. I have so much more to share. I hope we do get to do a part 2. I just flew away. I really appreciate you all being here, and I'm excited to share more information with you all in the future.
Great. Thank you so much, and we'll get together, Kim, and find a date.
Sounds great.
Have a great afternoon, everyone.